Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Whoa, Nellie, number 1 through 3, a miniseries published by Fantagraphics Books in 1996. And as you can see, it's all by Jaime Hernandez. And I mean, it goes without saying, this shit is fucking beautiful. God, I haven't looked at a Jaime Hernandez comic in quite a while. And I don't know why. Well, I actually have most of the Love and Rockets from the 90s and 2000s, but I'm missing a few issues. So I'm waiting to get these other issues. I don't want to read them until. But I mean, I have all the first 40 issues pretty much. I've read all those and of Love and Rockets, the first run. But I just love Jaime, and I forgot how much I loved him until last night when I was reading this. And, not just the art, one of the finest comic artists probably of all time. God, I love the way he writes his stories. I mean, this comic is just like, the story's pretty light. It's not like some heavy, convoluted story or something. But he's just so good with characters, just... people who aren't these extreme personalities. They're just kind of like normal people, just like the people you know. A lot of comics and movies and books and novels will always feature these extreme personalities because that's interesting, But not many people are like that in real life. But Jaime Hernandez is such a naturalistic way of writing characters. So this is a Love and Rockets comic book. This is like one of the first comics that Jaime did after, ending Love and Rockets the first time. Him and Gilbert did all these solo projects and then restarted Love and Rockets. These are going to be our two main characters, Xochitl and Gina. I love this. The inside covers are almost like trading cards. Pro Wrestling Legends Series number 14, Dynamite Pam Jones. I don't think these are real wrestlers. God, look at this. This is so fucking beautiful. He does the colors on this. I don't know if Jaime ever colored the covers on the original Love and Rockets, but he's a damn good colorist, judging by these covers. We have a little title page here. And we see all these famous wrestlers, at least imaginary famous wrestlers in the Love and Rockets Jaime-verse. I just want to read stories about all of these characters. They all look so interesting. Itsy and Bitsy, Cass and Havoc. Just the names alone are just amazing. So the one to remember, though, is Vicky Glory. She's going to be very important in this story. So we see Gina. She's a total wrestling fan. I mean, she's a wrestler, but she loves the sport. She reads wrestling magazines. She's really happy to be, in the Wrestling Federation. It's a small wrestling federation, she's definitely not a celebrity or anything. And her partner's Xochitl picks her up, and they're getting ready for the bout. And they seem to just, look how Jaime does this, no words at all. By their faces, you can tell these two women love each other. They're like best friends. Just look at them, look at each other, just smiling, beaming. They're so happy, not only to be friends, but also to be, wrestling together. And the announcer, I'm sorry, the announcer announces them. I didn't want to repeat that, but I guess I can't think of any other way to say it. And so in this match, they're fighting each other. Gina prefers it when they're tag team wrestlers. When they're a team against someone else. But I guess just because, the way wrestling works, it's just they tell you who you're going to fight. And so the past few months, she's been fighting Xochitl. And we see all these crazy moves. Obviously, Jaime Hernandez loves wrestling. If you've read Love and Rockets, you know this, or read interviews with him. So you could tell he's having a great time drawing this comic. Every now and then in Love and Rockets, wrestling would be part of a story. But this is the first time where it's just like, this is just wrestling. It's almost like a sports manga from Japan, And so here we see Vicky Glory. She's their coach. And, she's gotten older. She's just a manager now, pretty much. And she's the aunt of Xochitl. So she's telling them about, they got a big match Friday, and they really got to up the ante. They really got to seem like they hate each other. And so here's the fight, and it looks like they're getting nastier. Look at Gina's face there. And some good acting. I'm not even a fan of wrestling. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid. But I found this shit fun as hell when I was reading this. I was just like, God, I just want to read wrestling comics by Jaime Hernandez. I could read 100 issues of this. But of course, the real draw is his great character stuff in between the bouts, which actually was what I loved about WWF when I was a kid. I didn't really care about the bouts. I liked the soap opera in between. So basically, we find out that Vicky knows her niece isn't very good, and Gina's the star. But she also, she loves her niece, and she also knows that they love, being a team. But even though she kind of knows, she kind of admits, yeah, I'm kind of holding you back, Gina. I mean, but Gina won't even hear of it. Gina's like, no fucking way. It's always been our dream to be tag team partners. So we see Xochitl at home. She's a mom with kids. And she's watching one of her, that big wrestling bout with her kids. She's very proud. She's like, look at mommy in action. And she's such a sweetheart, but I love the way he draws her when she's being the heel. She really looks like just a badass, yelling at the crowd. And I think this is... Oh, yeah, so, okay, I'm sorry. I screwed up. Vicky Glory still is wrestling. And so she's got to wrestle her aunt. So she's wrestling Vicky, and Vicky's just making mincemeat out of her. This is some amazing moves. Look at this one, the 69 position. And Gina has to carry Xochitl out of the ring. She's beat up. But she's happy. She's like, yeah, I did a good, I gave him a good show tonight. And for some reason, Vicky's mad at her. She's like, don't ever wrestle family again. Ever again. Here's what Xochitl even says it. She says, why do you want a tag team when you know you'd go a lot further wrestling single? And Gina's just like a little girl. She's like, don't you remember our big dream? We were going to be the greatest tag team of them all. And she's like crying. And Xochitl like, calm down. Stop crying. Okay. I don't know why, for some reason, I like that Xochitl is wearing a Los Lobos t-shirt while she's shopping. Her son seems very confused about the whole, her pretending to be a bad guy and then switching over to be a good guy in some bouts. I imagine that would be very confusing if your mom, who you love and is all sweet, you see her on TV being like a total jackass asshole. And so one night she's hanging out with her husband, and Vicky calls. And apparently they got a big tag team match. And it's not just a little dinky one. It's against the Birmingham Lady Bashers, the greatest woman tag team of all time. So this is their, their big shot. So we see look at these ladies, the way he draws their faces, just the character on those faces. They, before the bout, they're being interviewed, and they introduce themselves, and they're basically being fangirls. And these women are all nice. Look at them, all beaming at them, just like, oh, how sweet. You girls are cute. And see you soon. And I love this. We see the match. Just one panel later, we cut ahead to the match, and they're just beating the shit out of our heroes, our heroines here. These women are savage. These old ladies. Continued next issue. God, that transition is just so perfect. It's like laugh out loud perfect. Even though, like, if you describe this to someone, they'd just be like, okay. But just reading it, the way he tells the story, it's so funny how sweet they are up here, and then they're just like kicking the shit out of them. It's kind of weird. It's the era when Fantagraphics, almost all the ads in here, the majority of them, are for bands and Discord records. Kind of weird. This is kind of nice. It's almost like getting an extra Jaime pinup, but it's just an ad for a 7-Year Bitch, the 90s band. Beautiful Jaime piece, which I don't own this album and probably never will. I was never a big fan of them. And so it's nice to have this cover art in my comic. Oh, this is great. And here we have the Birmingham Lady Bashers when they were young. I love seeing this, seeing how different they were, you know, from that from the comic. I love that also the fact that apparently they won the championship like decades ago, their first title, and they vowed never to change their hairstyles. And Xochitl says that, yeah, and their hairstyles were out of fashion even then. And so they just have these crazy, you know, old-timey, beehivey type shit going on. Number 2. God. Jaime. Okay, guys, see how it says this special guest star Maggie? I'm going to need you guys to, in the comments below, after you see this video, you're going to have to correct me, because I looked over this comic like 4 times last night. I thought I was going crazy. I do not see Maggie in this comic at all. And I was so confused. So I don't know if it's just a blatant false advertising. We get another one of these wrestlers, Angel Altergot from Columbus, Ohio. And the title page. I love this little thing here. It's it looks like a very like a 60s or 50s DC comic. Hey, it's Jaime Hernandez, and he's talking to the kids. Hey, kids, hope you like the comic so far. I'd sure like to hear from you folks. So write, and there's an address. So I love this, and we go back in time. We see 13-year-old Xochitl. I know I'm probably saying that name wrong, guys. Sorry, I'm doing the best I can. As far as I know, that's how it looks like it's pronounced in Spanish. Xochitl Nava. She would babysit the Bravo children next door, and that Gina was the oldest. So that's how she met Gina. Gina was just a little girl, and they would watch wrestling together, and Gina loved it. She's like, it's like watching lady superheroes. I love her toothless mouth. Well, I mean, she's like missing 3 teeth. She's such a goony, cute little kid. And Xochitl says, you know, my aunt has a gym, a wrestling gym. I think I'm going to join once I turn 18. So even when she was 13, she always wanted to be a wrestler too. But I don't think as much as Gina. Gina's just a little freak for wrestling. And so after her 18th birthday, Xochitl starts wrestling. Aunt Vicky comes to see her, and she's not very good. And Aunt Vicky kind of almost like tries to talk her out of it. She's like, maybe you should go to college, something to fall back on. So she does go to junior college. And then right around that same time, Gina and her family moved away. So it just seemed like they'd never see each other again. But Gina, as she's leaving, says, don't worry, when I'm old enough, we'll be the best tag team wrestling team ever. And a few years later, Gina shows up at her door. She's 15 years old. She's like almost 6 feet tall. And she says, Zoe, it's me. Let's get started on our dream. And right out the gate, first of all, they lie about her age. And right out the gate, Aunt Vicky and others notice that she's a natural. Gina's got skill. I think pretty much Zoe just gets wrestling bouts because her aunt is Vicky Glory. Now we come back to the present where they're getting their asses handed to them by the Birmingham Lady Bashers. I would watch this kind of wrestling. Seeing a bunch of middle-aged, well, maybe even like actually senior citizen women beating up two young women. I don't want to sound like a weird pervert or anything, but just that would be amazing. It's not a sexual thing. It would just be so novel and weird. I love these panels. The poor girls are just getting the shit kicked out of them, and the bashers are just loving it. They're just like total pros, you know. They know all the moves. They know how to inflict pain very well. Just every panel is fun as hell. And finally the bout is done, and poor Gina and Zoe are just like, fuck. And they're just spent. Look at them sitting there in their dressing room. It looks like they just got like totally drunk or something. They're just in a daze. So we see the next night or the next day, you know, Zoe's back at home being a mom, and Gina's still in high school. She's in class, kind of bored. I kind of imagine she's probably not a very good student. She just cares about wrestling. And now we cut away to Aunt Vicky is playing with her grandkids. Oh wait, great grandnephews. And this woman here named Perla. I'm not quite sure who she is. I love the way Jaime draws her though. And she's not a wrestler. She's like, I'm just the referee. And apparently Gina's going to graduate Friday. Aunt Vicky tries to give her a match Friday on that day. And Zoe turns her down. Oh, I think this is Vicky's daughter, Perla. And, oh no, she's another cousin, Perla. And she, Aunt Vicky shows her gallery of lady wrestlers. And we see this whole, probably imaginary history, like a wrestler from 1904, Concha Frias. And then there's a brother-sister team, the first mixed tag team in Mexico history. And this is actually her great-grandparents and grandparents. So she's showing that basically, you know, like, I'm part of a wrestling dynasty. It's in my blood. And Perla has a little fantasy about being this great wrestler. But of course it turns into a day nightmare because she's like, yeah, it would probably be scary as hell. So Vicky Glory gets called in by the head honchos of the wrestling league. And they're like, hey, we talked about it. The women's Texas title, we're giving it to your niece. We've already decided. So Vicky tells Zoe, and she's thrilled, as you can imagine. She's pretty excited. But not as much as Gina. I think Zoe, you know, realizes that she's not that great a wrestler. It's just something to make some money. She really, you know, she just wants to be a mom, pretty much. But, you know, wrestling's just a job for her. It's not like Gina, where that's her whole life. So they're both thrilled. And Perla comes over, gives her the championship belt, the Texas belt. And I guess for the women's Texas championship, Zoe is going to have to defend her belt against Katie Hawk, an American wrestler. God, he draws Katie Hawk so beautifully. I mean, I just probably know, even if you don't read his stuff, he's just so good at drawing beautiful women. Well, all kinds of women, but when he draws a beautiful woman, he makes them really beautiful. He's like the anti-Jack Kirby. Or the anti-Steve Ditko. So, in this match, Zoe is playing the heel, and everyone's booing her. And she's just totally breaking the rules, slapping her before the fight's even started. And it looks like at the beginning of the fight, she's kicking her ass. I'm sorry, Zoe is kicking Katie's ass. And look at this, I love this. So Gina, as the towel person, or whatever you call it, almost like the corner coach, you know, she's got to cheat and help Zoe win. And like, we know how sweet Gina is, but I just love seeing her be like, well, this is my job. I got to pretend to be this totally cheating jerk. And Zoe's really kicking her ass. Look at Gina again, holding her hands down in her hair. And then so everything's going great, and then all of a sudden, Katie punches her right in the stomach, and it looks like it hurts. I don't know if that's play acting or not, but I don't think it is. To be continued. Okay, now we have the last issue. God, this makes me sad. I want like 50 more of these. Another great cover. This is Jumbo Nishimori from Osaka, Japan. Oh man, I want to read a comic about her. Maybe she was in Love and Rockets. I don't know. I can't remember all of them. We get to see some more crazy wrestlers. I love this one, Azteca Vera. She almost looks like Frida Kahlo if she got a brow job. So, Xochitl climbs back in the ring. She's pretty stunned, it looks like. And then Katie starts wailing on her. And so I was a little confused. I don't know if this was in the script. Because they gave Zoe the Texas champ title, just handed it to her. But then it's like, if this is the way it's scripted, I guess they just wanted her to lose it immediately. So I imagine that's what happened. But it does seem like Zoe is kind of surprised. Like, she's like, wait, I thought I was supposed to win this one and defend my belt, my title. And definitely Katie's totally dominating for the second half of the match. And she wins the match. So she's the new Texas Women's Champ. But then, you know, back in the locker room, Zoe was just like, I got to keep the belt for a week at least, huh, Aunt Vicky? So she's happy. She doesn't really care. She's just happy that she got to have it for a week. And she says, is it okay if I don't ask for a rematch? She doesn't really even want to, you know, try to get the title back. And it's kind of interesting here how in different parts of Texas, like in West Texas, Gina is what do they call it? A face, I think. If you're a baby face, that means you're the good guy. In East Texas, she's a heel. So the crowds won't accept her unless she's that. So in East Texas, she can't all of a sudden be acting like a baby face. Everyone's gonna boo her. And Gina's like, something's very wrong with this. And we see a bunch of wrestlers in the dressing room, and they're all arguing. I like this one wrestling team. They're just like a couple of sorority girls. They're these like kind of bubbly blonde girls. Oh, so here we go. She kind of, at least this is the scuttlebutt. She says they handed Zoe the belt so Katie could win it in a spectacular fashion. Because they knew Zoe really wasn't, champion material. And Gina gets in a fight with Katie Hawk. She's really pissed about the whole situation. And so Gina goes to Vicky Glory and says, "It kind of sucked. We were the only ones who didn't know about this." And then Vicky kind of tells her the whole reason why she started a women's wrestling camp. She wanted to basically, once she had power, because she was a great champion, once she got power, she wanted to protect the other gals trying to break into wrestling. She says everyone deserves to be a champion at least once in their life. That's a nice sentiment, even if it's just for a day. And basically, it sounds like she's pretty jaded with the wrestling business, you know. She's seen it all. Vicky Glory knows that eventually, you know, unless your heart toughen up, your poor heart's not going to take it. You'll end up feeling disgusted and ashamed. So then Zoe changes her mind and she decides to have a rematch with Katie. And she thinks she can win this time. So I guess now that she knows the story, she's like, you know, I still think I deserve to be handed that title, and I'm going to prove it. And they get in a big fight. And basically, because Zoe kind of, you know, has this attitude now of like, hey, it's every woman for herself. You know, I don't really care about our stupid tag team. I'm doing this for me. And Gina, of course, is pissed off at her attitude. And Zoe is basically saying, grow up. This is wrestling. I love the body language here of them two squaring off against each other. Just another great little bit, though. Jaime's so good at this. The husband has no idea what's going on. He walks in, and he's all like, hey, how's the world's greatest tag team doing today? Of course, like, it doesn't go over well. So it's the night of the match. And, oh, I'm sorry. This is a different match. I can't remember what they call this, but this is like a Grand Royale crazy match where all of these wrestlers are thrown in the ring. And basically, you have to throw the person over the ropes to eliminate them. And basically, it's just like last woman standing wins. And this is so great, just getting to see all these interesting wrestlers who, like I said earlier, I want comics about all these people. We have those sorority girls. They're called the Sugar Twins, Sunny and Summer from Utah. Next, we have Pepper Martinez. Look, I love her. She looks like such a badass. Then we have this New Yorker, Kitty Katz. She's from Staten Island. And then look at this one, Sister Sin. And then, of course, we have the the Alabama Lady Bashers. We have Loretta Cox, and we haven't seen her before. Katie Hawk, and Xochitl and Gina. And it begins. The Battle Royale. This shit is fun. I wish this was like this fight alone should be like a 3-issue miniseries. It's so fun. Seeing all these random women kicking the shit out of each other. I like how those the Sugar Twins are just brutal. They look so like, I don't know. It's just like cheerleaders, but God, Jaime's art is just... He's got to be up there. Top 5 cartoonists of all time. Maybe top 10. But definitely in the top 10. Just a pure drawing skill alone. His art's stunning. But man, the other stuff, he's just gotten better and better. He started off great. And he just keeps getting better. Tossing Pepper Martinez over the rope. So really quickly, a bunch of them get eliminated. And then pretty much, it's Zoe and Gina. And now they got to fight each other to see who wins. And I think it's a sizable purse. It's a lot of money riding on this. I think they win $2,000. And they're staring at each other, still pissed about that argument they had. And the announcers are like, who's going to make the first move? And then all of a sudden, one of the announcers says, wait a minute, they're both leaving the ring. They're not going to continue. Whoa, Nellie. That's where the title comes from. They disqualified themselves. Now nobody gets the $2,000. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And we see this voice. I'm not sure who it is, but they're talking to Vicky. How do you like that, Vicky? The way they're acting. You'd think they were just crowned tag team champions of the world. Sure looks like it, don't it? I'm pretty sure Vicky's pretty proud of them. And look at this. It's just like, I know like in any other one's hands, this would be such a sappy ending. But I was like, I was reading this in bed and I think I audibly went, woo. Like I was in a wrestling match. So they made up and realized that they're friends for life. And they're not going to let stupid shit get in the way. But man, great ending. Just all around great story. So here's the letter page. And whatever. It's letters from the readers. But it's nice that Jaime responds to all of them, not some editor. Oh, I love this. I forgot about this. So the last Pro Wrestling Legends series poster is Los Hermanas Asesinas. Asesinas. And at first I was just like, oh, so no new wrestlers. It's like, no, it's Gina and Zoe. We get to see the future. And it looks like they did go on to be a kick-ass tag team champions. They're holding the belts. Oh, that's so great. I almost forgot to look at the back cover just now. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did. Because I love that idea. We've just seen all these random wrestlers on these posters. But this actually, is a nice little coda to the story. He barely even recognized these two. Look at them. But they look like, they do look like champions. They look like fucking badasses. That's what they look like. Oh, man. Sorry I was gushing so much, guys, but I don't know why. It's been so long. And I've just forgot just how great Jaime Hernandez is. And, this is one of his very light stories. It's just, kind of fun. He just wanted to do a comic about wrestlers. And still just so much better than 99% of the comics out there. Of course, the art is, obviously. But even the writing, he just seems to nail characters so well. So realistic. Such a sense of naturalism to his writing. I'm always amazed when I read his stuff. So there you have it, guys. Whoa, Nellie, number 1 through 3. I'm sure these are collected in many books in different editions and whatever. They just keep rehashing that Love and Rocket stuff ad infinitum. So, hope you liked it, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.